Greetings, fellow connoisseur of the arcane arts and pursuer of knowledge. Today, I'm here to show you why Akashic Records and Hex Casting are so great. Right here, I have an Akashic Record with an improved impulse spell. You can see that it contains a lot of patterns. Now, disclaimer, I do have Hexol installed, so I would be able to just cast the spell because I have it inside of my Everbook. However, you can use Akashic Records using just 4 patterns if you have the correct setup. Now this pattern right here, the improved impulse, contains a lot, and I mean a lot of patterns. You wouldn't really be able to put this inside of a hex and then put more spell around it. You could put it in a trinket, but then or a focus, but then you'd have to have a trinket read this, use it, and then use more of the spell to really use this inside of a trinket. And this really just takes up like half of the screen, so you really can't use it in a normal hex, so you'd have to read it from somewhere. I have it in my other book, once again, which is somewhere around here, right there. And you can use it from Akashic Records, save it in your other book, and then use it as just a normal spell. Now, about the setup I mentioned earlier. The most basic thing you can do right here is to just save the location by doing the raycast into, God, I'm slow today, into a block, and then just introspection, consideration, then the pattern you designated, and Akasha's Gambit, I think it was, and then you have the spell. This you can't really use inside of a trinket because you'd have to be looking at the spell at the Akashic library. Now you can locate a sentinel if you have a sentinel on it and just shorten this whole thing down to 4 patterns without any kind of add-on to the mod. And I think you can see where this now becomes such a great thing to have, because you can have a lot and a lot of libraries attached to one of those cores. And this file right here, just to compare the 2 spells. This file is a creative file, so it contains 64,000 dust. And this spell right here has a lot of patterns, but it's an improved impulse. And I don't think you can really tell where the spell begins in my spellbook if you saw it right there. But like, let's just do a normal impulse. Once again, I'm really slow today, but let's just do a normal impulse with a magnitude of 10. Multiply my view vector by 10. And now you can see that this should consume about 100 dust. Actually, I can show you really quick. This really does contain 64,000. It has not consumed anything. I dashed forwards and I consumed exactly 100 dust. Now to compare it to the Akashic record, I need to get myself the location I'm looking at. I'm just going to use the other book version of this. I could just do the 4 patterns. Also, let's just go with 30, just to show that this is even stronger, because normal impulse is exponential scaling, and this is linear. Normal impulse would have cost like 30 to the power of 2 dust, which is a lot. This only costs 69. Nice, by the way. And here you have my spellbook, which contains the linear impulse. I don't think you can really tell where it begins and where it ends, because it doesn't actually save it as a pattern. It saves the patterns it's contained of. But you can see that it contains a lot of patterns, and right here I have a quiver wisp, and just to save us, the impulse right there is not my creation. I took that from the forums. However, the railgun and my quiver wisp were my creation, although inspired from the forums. I put a lot of thought into how they worked and how they really did the math and stuff, and it's really fun. And oh, right, this doesn't work in survival because I haven't fixed that yet. This quiver wisp constantly impulses arrows towards itself, and this railgun shoots those arrows in my view direction very, very fast. So how does this play into the Akashic Record? Because it uses linear impulse to save so much, and I really mean so incredibly much dust, that it's absurd. Also, don't mind me not understanding how Akashic Records work. I started this world like a month ago when I had no clue how this mod works in the first place. And this is like my 8th platform. Don't mind that. I don't like testing in super flat worlds. They are boring. But yeah, Akashic Records really just play in a lot of bigger spells. Like spells that contain a lot more than just one screen's worth of patterns. Now, without add-ons, using an Akashic Record can get a bit big inside of a spell, as you can see here, but it's not really like huge, and it still saves a lot of space if you use Akashic Records with a lot of spells inside of it, like here. And it's not really that big, like it's not like artifact big, which, to be honest, is a little unfair comparison, because artifacts are fucking huge. But like, it still saves a lot of space, and you can put it inside of your spellbook or a trinket and still have something in your other hand to read out of aside from just this spell. Like, you can still read like an entity data or a list of places or whatever, or you can have it in your spellbook and have a casting device in your main hand, as I do. So yeah, I hope I at least showed you why I think Akashic Records are so great even without an add-on. And I still believe that you should definitely play Hex Casting with its add-ons, at least more Iotas and Hexel, if not even Hex Gloop, which is the mod that made the patterns appear as actual patterns in the lists, by the way. Like, I hope this helped at least somewhat.